Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Pick of the Week, the programme that brings you the highlights of the freshest programmes aired on Islam Channel this past week.
Coming up on this week's episode, the sisters from Women's AM discuss World Hijab Day by heading out onto the streets to get members of the public to try on a hijab in order to build better understanding. Abu Bakr from Roadside to Islam interviews Boona Mohammed, discussing his upbringing, what led him to begin practicing Islam and becoming a spoken word artist. And we take a look at the effects of the ban imposed on people travelling to the US from 7 Muslim countries.
We start with an Islam Channel classic. Every week, your event goes out into the community, and this week, Faisal Salah warms up the crowd before the beginning of a winter 5K walk.
Hello! Hey, I've got some people over here. My sister, I see you. Everybody else, hello! You are all heroes. Just remember that. In the meantime, I'll do a little beatboxing for like 10-20 seconds while you lot are getting the torch out on your phone. I see them! Yay! Alright, we got the torches ready. Woo-hoo! Alright, we're all shiny and ready. I have one small piece for you guys today. It's called Smile. And if it connects with your heart, yay! They don't know us. They don't know who we are. And they don't know our potential to show the stars. And we'll just smile, and raise our hands and pray for a while. I know that things aren't always right, but see the light. Here we go, brothers and sisters. Hey, so you know what we're gonna do today?
Leading the pre-walk warm-up session and keeping us entertained was Colin Nell, a football freestyler and specialist from London.
We're going to have a nice interactive warm-up session for everybody, just to try and get you nice and warm. That's it, using both left foot and right foot.
Oh, look at him go. Jeez, go Colin!
We start with an Islam Channel classic. Every week, your event heads out into the community, and this week, Faisal Salah warms up the crowd before a winter 5K walk.
You know, my influence was this, very multicultural, diverse background, but unfortunately, I didn't grow up with a lot of Muslims. Even though I was from a Muslim family, there wasn't a strong Muslim influence. And for me, it was very easy to identify with, other groups because, when you come into these places, even though I'm Oromo from Ethiopia, to them I was just black. That's all it meant. So being black meant that, I had to be like the blacks that I knew, which were the Jamaicans and the West Indians and, people of that background who, unfortunately were not Muslim. And so they really shaped my understanding of life. And so I grew up, very confused, like a lot of these youth we see nowadays, very confused as to my identity. Was I African? Was I black? Was I Muslim? Was I this? Was I that? Was I Canadian? Was I, and so I think like many youth, I really found my identity, shifted from like day to day. This day I was with these people, and then when I played soccer, I was with my Italian friends, and then when I went to parties, I was with my white friends, and then I went, down the road, I see all my Jamaican friends, and I was, alhamdulillah, my family did, I did go to madrasa. I went, on the weekends and learned the Quran, but just the weekends wasn't enough. You know what I'm saying? The weekend thing, wasn't really working for me because I would be just even more confused as to who I was. So that eventually ended up, leading me astray and leading me to a direction where, I completely just forgot about my Islam. I completely forgot about everyone I was with, and the things that, I really kind of took as a religion was like hip hop. Hip hop became like a religion for me. And this is a very sad and scary thing to say, that it is a deen of a lot of people. And people say, and if you're familiar with the hip hop lifestyle, you know that hip hop, it's more than a music. It's more than just music. It's a culture. It shapes the way you dress. It shapes the people you hang out with. It shapes your language. It shapes your culture. So in many ways, it becomes like a deen. It becomes like a religion.
We now slow down the pace with Roadside to Islam, where motivational speaker and spoken word artist Boona Mohammed talks about his upbringing, the world of poetry, and his relationship with Islam. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Ayan. I'm here in Leicester Square to talk to YouTuber and events planner Su'ad Mahmood and to ask her why she's here. So let's find out what she's been up to.
It's World Hijab Day today, and to be honest, I wanted to do something a little different. I know that we come together to celebrate as Muslims together for World Hijab Day, but I kind of wanted to take it out there. I wanted to take it on the streets of London. Everyone that I've spoken to so far love the hijab, have no problem with it, and actually really respect it. And a lot of them have called it beautiful and different. So we are getting a great response.
All right, catch up with you later.
All right, take care, yeah.
Although it's not happened to me, I think it is important to teach people about hijab and, bullying and stuff like this. It's really unfair.
I love wearing hijab. It's part of who I am. I wear it with so much pride. And I think all of this stuff going on makes me more proud to wear it. Do you get it?
Yes, I fully understand. But then I wish a lot more people understand.
No, I really hope so. And that's why we're out here today, just to try and communicate with beautiful people like you that are willing to talk. No, this is amazing, because this is where it all starts, with a conversation.
I always say you cannot hate any person whose story you know.
Yeah, thank you. Do you like it? It's so pretty.
Yes, thank you.
So why did you stop for us?
I don't know. I was just drawn to the invitation. Do not fear anyone who wears a hijab.
It's amazing.
Try how it is to be in your skin.
Exactly. Our hair is our beauty, and we believe that not everybody should have access to your beauty. So the reason why we wear the hijab is that we keep our beauty only for our husband and other people like our brother and our family. Do you think of it differently now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you understand it now differently?
It's like a secret that you keep just for yourself.
Yeah, you see it?
I think everybody's got the right to express their own religious views, and if wearing the hijab is what you feel is appropriate, then I'm all for you being allowed to do it.
I don't really like the black ones.
Okay.
But I like the coloured ones.
You like the coloured ones a bit more?
I just think like if somebody's dressed all in black, it's sort of like means keep away.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a hijab, it can be...
It's just somebody all in black is just a little unnerving.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I get it's for like religious reasons. I don't find it that like appealing, but
everyone's been so amazing today. We had so many people to stop. Even if they didn't want to go on camera, they still really wanted to know what was going on, what are you guys doing, and how can we help and get involved. So yeah, I think it's really good. I want to do this more often.
I think we should respect you. Just because you've got a headscarf on doesn't make you any different to anyone else.
When you see it, is it off-putting? Would you approach somebody in a hijab?
probably not, no. I think that's because there's so much, like, obviously negative stereotyping about them.
That's really good. I think a lot of the times because you hear a lot of negativity, so people
yeah, definitely.
assume
but
the
you hear
worst.
a lot of negativity about anybody, not just Muslims.
Seems like it's been a positive experience.
You know what? It really has been positive. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed interacting with everybody, and that was the whole point of this whole thing, to be able to communicate and really bridge that gap. So yes, I've enjoyed it.
I think it's brilliant. I think it just shows that us hijabis can be approachable and that we should be having these dialogues with everyone. So what advice would you give to any sisters that are watching then?
Be proud of who you are. Be proud of this crown we wrap around ourselves. Be proud of it. That's what I want to say. We love wearing, at the end of the day, I love wearing a hijab and I've grown into it more. I know it's hard because you stand out. Let's not get it twisted, you know what I mean? We stand out. But to stand out makes you even better, makes you even more amazing. So appreciate it, wrap it with you, wrap it around your head with pride.
Alhamdulillah. So there you go, sisters. Be proud of your hijab and don't be afraid to engage in any dialogue. In celebration of World Hijab Day, Su'ada Mahmood and the Women's AM team head to the streets of central London to ask passers-by if they'd like to try on a hijab and what they think of the women who choose to wear it.
Send us your comments about the show and let us know what your favourite programmes are by emailing us on pickoftheweek@islamchannel.tv. Or you can visit us on facebook.com/IslamChannelTV and #PickOfTheWeek. You can also send us your tweets to @IslamChannel #PickOfTheWeek.
This week, the report team covered the controversial Muslim ban in America, where immigrants or travellers from 7 Muslim countries were banned from entering the US.
The ban was criticised by allies, sparked confusion over its implementation, and galvanised Democrats looking for a lightning rod to beat Trump. There was growing unease among Republican lawmakers as well. 4 federal judges moved to halt deportations. Around 300 people were stopped or detained worldwide, and US civil rights lawyers warned it could ultimately come down to a battle between the Trump administration and the Supreme Court. The decree suspends the arrival of all refugees for at least 120 days, Syrian refugees indefinitely, and bars US citizens from 7 majority Muslim countries, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria and Yemen for 90 days. The order would let the Department of Homeland Security ban more countries at any time. Thousands of demonstrators poured into the streets and gathered at airports for 2 consecutive days to denounce the executive order as lawyers fought for the release of those detained on arrival, many of whom were in midair when Trump signed the decree.
We've had volunteer lawyers here for about 2 days working to help people who are trying to get into the country, who are from Syria, Iraq, Iran, and other countries that are on the banned list. And making sure that they have access to legal counsel and know their rights when they try to enter the United States.
4 congressmen said they had been refused access to the area where the travelers would be held, a move lawyers said was in contempt of a court order issued late Saturday. Trump's executive order has already faced legal setbacks, and lawyers around the country are massing in person and online to lend pro bono support to those whose lives have been upended by the travel ban. The decree comes just days after the Trump administration is looking into bringing back torture, according to a draft order published by the New York Times and the Washington Post. The draft order would also open up the detention camp at Guantanamo for new detainees, rescind an Obama-era directive confining interrogations to techniques in the Army Field Manual, and giving the Red Cross access to all detainees held by the United States. Torture was a key part of Trump's national security platform as a candidate. He publicly defended torture on the trail, proclaiming that torture works and only a stupid person would say it doesn't. Lena Serene, The Report.
That I will faithfully execute.
Well, joining me on the line from Washington, D.C. is author and journalist Askia Mohammed, and we're also joined by Professor Matthew Feldman from the University of Teesside. Welcome to the programme, both of you. Askia, this level of protest, if we take into account the Inauguration Day protests and all these protests that have been taking place around the Muslim ban and at the airports, is there a time in American history, certainly since the 1960s, where we've seen this scale of protest?
No, we haven't. And really, the speed at which this protest accelerated from nothing into full-blown around the country, really around the world, angry mode is really remarkable and, to a certain extent, encouraging. Greenpeace, in fact, on Friday, claimed the chairman of the board of Greenpeace, who said she's scared of heights, climbed along with some others who were a little bit more daring and draped a banner from a crane to 3 or 4 blocks from the White House that said resist. They stood there for 18 hours. They were on this 270-foot crane, and from the ellipse, it looked as though the resist sign was flying above the White House itself. This level of protest, in my view, seems unprecedented.
We now move our attention to a program specifically aimed at young Muslims. This week on Step Up, the sisters looked at the dangers of social media and how to stay safe online.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our viral video segment. Internet safety and the dangers of meeting strangers on the internet have become nothing but assembly topics we all dread. But the constant updates on social media and new platforms that allow us to interact with hundreds of people all at once has made discussing this issue all the more important. The child predator experiment on the dangers of impersonators on social media has attracted over 41 million views. So let's discuss this a bit more. Hannah, can you summarize the video for us?
Yeah, so this video is basically, there's a guy and he's about maybe early to mid-20s, and he poses himself on a social networking site. He makes a fake profile as a 15-year-old boy, and he targets 3 girls, all with the parents' permission. So the girls' ages are 12, 13 and 14, and you know, he targets them all at different times and he does different things to each of them. So basically the 12-year-old, he talks to her for a bit, like, you know, via the social networking site, and then he agrees to, they agree to meet up at her house when her dad falls asleep. Obviously her dad knows about this, so her dad is with the guy at the time. So the whole time the dad's like denying it. He's like, you know, she's not going to give you my address. She's not going to do that. There's no way she's going to open the door or give you my address. She won't, you know, she won't do it. What happens is she actually sends her address, she texts it to him, and she opens the door. And when she opens the door, obviously she's shocked to find the guy there, you know, this 20-year-old guy. And then she's even more shocked to find her dad, because he kind of pops out. And, you know, he's shocked, she's shocked, and it's all it's really shocking that she's actually done that. The second girl is the 13-year-old. And he's again spoken to her a bit before on the social networking site. And he agrees to meet up with her at a park. So she thinks her parents are out, but actually her dad's again with the guy. And so she goes over to meet him, and as she gets into the park, he kind of stands up and he's like, are you know, this person? And she's like, yeah, but who are you? And so he says who he is, and she's like, oh no, what do I do? Because obviously this guy is not the guy she's been talking to on the social networking site. She doesn't think it is, because obviously he looks different and he's definitely not 15. And then again, her dad comes out of nowhere and he's like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, you know, what do you think you're doing meeting this guy? He could have been anybody. And so it plays out like that. But the last one with the 14-year-old, I think, is actually the scariest one, because what happens is she thinks her parents are both out, but in actual fact, they're again with the guy, and she thinks that the guy's older brother is going to come and pick her up in his car or van or whatever. So basically, she comes out of her house and there's this white van parked up at the front. And so she gets in, and what she doesn't know is her parents are actually at the back of the van, and they've got masks on their face, so they're ready to grab her and give her a scare. And she gets in, you know, she gets in with a complete stranger. There's this older guy, and she's like, oh, are you his brother? And he's like, yeah, even though he could be anybody. And she gets in and she gets grabbed, and she starts screaming and kicking, and then her parents are like, turn around, it's us, it's your parents, turn around. And she's really scared, and she turns around, and then, you know, her parents are like, after all the conversations we've had, all the discussions we've had, everything we've spoken about, you still do this, you got into a van with a complete stranger. And it's frightening, because she's 14, you know, she's kind of our age. And the fact that, you know, she actually goes in there with a complete stranger, he could have been anybody. It just shows how dangerous social media can be, and how many fake profiles there are out there, and how many people fall for it.
Exactly, and I think that this topic has been downplayed so much because we've heard about it so many times.
Definitely, yeah.
How many assemblies have you had? But I think the way that social media is rapidly changing, you need to be so smart on who you interact with.
You do.
It could be absolutely anyone, and I'm pretty sure you guys have had friends, or even hopefully not, but your own pictures being used on someone else's account. And I've had that being done to some of my own friends, and that's so scary, how you can create a whole person just like that. and you have no idea who you're speaking to at the end of the day. So we've seen so many of these social experiments going around. What do you think, what was it about this one that made it go so viral? What do you think?
I think it's kind of the fact that it's really important for people to know this. Like, we learn about it a lot in assemblies, but because we learn about it a lot, it gets boring. But also in assemblies, they don't update the way it happens because social media is always changing. So the thing about this is because people hear about it a lot, they think, oh, everyone's learned about it, it's never going to happen. But it does still happen, which is why it's important to properly learn about this and how it happens.
That's all we have time for in this episode, so make sure you tune in next week for all the best shows at Islam Channel. So until then, Assalamu alaikum and see you next week.